Hi, this is Dana, and on this channel I speak about spiritual warfare. In this video, God guided me to speak about uh, specifically working with your gifts. I will try to speak faster because I don't have enough memory on the card, so I hope to get to say everything. Essentially, I have said before that working with your gifts is extremely important. And I actually said this that working with your gifts sometimes it's a way used by your ancestors to help you cheat on tests, sort of say. Namely, that there's information or things done against you which is hidden to you, yeah. But they cannot tell you because sometimes it's a test for you. Sometimes there are certain darkness creation password encoded things created which basically block you from receiving that information. Now what they will do, and I experienced this, what they will do, they will guide you. For example, for me, they guided me in the beginning of my spiritual fighting to do readings. And initially they said you have to charge because it is a rule of astral. You have to charge for your readings. Otherwise, you can be vampirized and so on. But at the same time, what happened, I enjoyed tremendously doing that. I was very happy. I said in previous videos, because you had an instant confirmation of what you're saying. The individual for whom you do the reading will confirm if it's true or not what you see in his past. And that's a tremendous joy, that you actually have recognition. Otherwise, anyone can challenge whatever I say or somebody else says. But if you already given information to somebody about their past, they will know that you had no way of knowing it unless it's a true reading, right? So that is one thing. Another thing is that I got to work with many of my ancestors. So many of my ancestors actually came to me and they brought their own proteges, sort of say, people in 3D with whom they worked, whom they protected, and they will ask me, we want to pass this message to him and he doesn't communicate with us. So that was sort of like I was doing a favor for some of my ancestors, and this way I got to actually meet or talk to individuals who were protected by them. So that seemed really interesting to me as well. So there are many ways in which the readings were interesting, but what I discovered in doing readings though was that they will bring to me those cases to read on them, which were identical with my situations. Why? Because in this 3D craziness, they don't create just bondage on one individual. They do the same thing on many people, right? So they will bring to me those individuals which had identical bondage with something which I had to break, but I didn't know about it. So while I was doing the reading for that individual, my ancestor will say to me, apply this to you. This is valid for you as well, because during a reading, you read the situation and then you give recommendation on how that can be countered, right? So that's very interesting. So this is a way your ancestors help you to cheat on tests in spiritual fighting or to unlock information which is very important to you, but there is some sort of blockage for you created, so you don't receive that information directly, but they provide it to you indirectly. So that's one way in which ancestors use you working with gifts to find out information. And this is a trick always, and I want to emphasize this because, for example, initially God said, you do readings only in exchange for a certain amount of money, and we will guide you if that individual can afford more or less. But it's mandatory that you request money for it. Why? Because they created this bondage on working with divine gifts. Namely, like the church says, that it should be done for free, it should be done in poverty, the poverty vows taken by monks and so on, which is a lie. This is something they created just in order for them to steal the material abundance which comes with gifts. So God said it's important because this breaks the bondage on money. You must charge money for your service. And also it empowers vampiristic relations between the darkness which is possessing that individual and you as a service provider. So it's important you charge money. But some of the individuals will simply say, you know, I don't have money to pay, but I need this information because I don't know what to do. And I ask guidance every time, and I ask Jesus, do you want me to actually give the... God said not to give readings without money, but do you want me to do this? And many times I did. Jesus guided me to do it. I did it, and then at the end of it, I saw the benefit, which to me was coming in a different form. One way was this one, that they will help me receive information useful to myself through that reading, a recommendation which they couldn't make directly to me, but I would learn about it through that reading. And then I would make, for example, a parallel between the situation of that individual and something that was going on in my life. And I will identify the patterns, realizing that that bondage was created on me as well. Okay, so working with gifts can provide guidance for yourself as a reader, for example. And the same thing goes for healing. If you are a healer and you work with your gifts, you might end up by healing another one. First of all, the divine grace energy goes through you. So essentially, you heal yourself as well. I have done this, and I know this. As you do healing, either that you do pranic healing or you do Reiki healing or whatever you do, if you do healing and you choose to work with your healing gifts, which I essentially don't recommend, as I said in another video, but if you do this, you have to learn how to do it anyway. So for a while, you'll have to do it. So even myself, I had to do it just to learn how to work with it. But as you do that, the healing energy from the divine comes through you to your patient. Therefore, a healing is done on you anyhow. And if you succeed to heal that person from whatever is being done on him, then you get the benefits and in terms of healing on yourself, or you identify patterns of attacks which will help you unlock your energy and so on. So it will work on you as a healing energy in your life. So again, as you work with your gifts, you work directly with the divine. Any encounter, and this is important also for the crazy bastards who keep working with darkness, any encounter with your ancestors from divine realm is healing. Doesn't matter what you do. You receive guidance, you work with your gifts, that's healing, because that's pure energy which comes into your energetic field. Okay, so working with your gifts, regardless what are those gifts, it is healing in itself, because you work with your ancestors and you receive guidance as well. That's the second advantage of it, right? In your own for pertaining your own situation. Then working with your gifts is an opportunity for you to expose their lies. So it's part of your spiritual fighting. I gave this example in the previous video, where God is guiding me to talk about a specific topic and give an explanation or an example from my own spiritual fighting. And at the end of it, God explains to me, I guided you to speak about this because they said these lies about this situation. So I needed you to speak on record about it, so it will be clarified. So you don't waste time to go research, find out, and then try to counter the slander which they put on your name and so on. So you don't waste energy with them. You're just working with your gift. Essentially, you already expose them for who they are and what they did. Then another benefit is that you're elevating. You gain beneficity as you work with your gifts. But one way is because you help others, and that is rewarded by divine realm. You, in case you do readings or prophetic communication or something, then you uphold the divine truth, right? And you transmute darkness, because working with your gifts at any time is working with the divine realm, which brings light in 3D, which essentially transmutes darkness. Okay, so you create a number of benefic effects for everybody around just by doing that. So for this reason, you gain beneficity, which will help you in elevating. And you learn, you gain experience. As you do this, you learn to read energy, you learn to do healing, you learn a lot of things. So that is automatically, and you open up channels which have been blocked by darkness or attacks or bondages, maybe not on yourself, but on the DNA of the embodiment which you are carrying during that moment. In a previous lifetime, maybe something was created. So you unlock certain abilities which are very important for the bondage breaking on that embodiment, so you can move forward. And so this is very important. This also helps at elevating. And then it's a matter of self-defense, as I explained in the previous video, because I'll give you one example. When I first started writing prophetic writing, God was guiding me insistently. I wasn't comfortable with the idea initially because I was like, this is very private to me. Who to tell? Who would read? Who would listen? And then I've done it just because I got guidance. Then I found my reasoning in doing it, as I explained in the previous videos. And God, to convince me, He explained to me, look at me, you're surrounded. Because you're fighting, they surrounded you and they covered your entire area with darkness. Your entire house, your entire courtyard, everything, your entire neighborhood. Nobody can, you cannot interact in astral with others. Others cannot come to help you. They've done this because they want to eliminate you, to execute you. They do not kid about these things when you start speaking up and exposing them. So they will kill you if you don't. At this point in time, you cannot get out of the house too far away from the house. And you will stay there in that dark energy. You will exhaust yourself. But if you start speaking publicly about it, they will not dare to send so much attacks because other individuals will be able to see. I will explain to you how God showed me. Like He showed me my house, my courtyard, my location, my household. And He showed me when you work with us and you do the prophetic writing and this and that, He showed me like a ray of light is coming from the sky to my house. That's the communication you do with the divine realm while you do spiritual work with your gifts, with your ancestors from the divine realm. And by that you clear the darkness. Of course, all of the above. You heal yourself, you heal the area, the surroundings, and then you become visible for others. They cannot cover you up anymore. They cannot hide you anymore. So it's a self-defense in this regard as well, namely that they do not succeed to, even if you're isolated, you still are seen by others from the same astral space or even from other astral spaces from other countries. This is also a rationale in working with your gifts. Very important at critical times. You might not even imagine, and it will be, it doesn't come natural as a thought that they will do this to you. But believe me that I have seen myself the difference, and I have felt the difference in energy after I started writing the prophetic writings, because I could sense that the darkness was dispelling, and this was part of the reason. One was because of my work, but one was because they didn't dare anymore to do this much harm because others were already seeing it, right? This is also why sometimes on Facebook or YouTube, God is guiding me to pin down the location where I am. Keep this in mind. Many times, especially in the spiritual journey, when I was under very heavy attacks, God said, doesn't matter what you write, just post something about where you are. Post your location in public, as public information, because this already will help you. So this might be useful to you as well. Although you tend not to do this, right? But many times it can save your life. Because if you expose publicly the information of your location, there's a number of things that happen. One is that instantly others can be curious to see where you are, and then they get to see what is going on. These ones here cannot cover that up anymore, basically. Sorry. And you, lastly, but not the least important, you get to meet other people. Because usually they made a point in isolating each and every one of us. Okay? And usually they surrounded us by karmics. So we won't be able to come together. As you come together, if two people with from the same lineage come together with the same energy, now depending on how much darkness, if they are not karmics, if they come together, just being on the same street in the same room, talking to each other or on internet or something, that already creates a field, which I don't know how to explain this, because God is always showing images to me. That creates a field among themselves, like a circle, and that fortifies the strength of the energy of each of them individually, just by being together it's okay. Let's say this, God is showing to me, it's just the reverse of the gang stalking, exactly the same thing as they do as a gang stalking, because they come together in groups in order to multiply the power or the force of the attack, right? Individually, none of them is able to attack. This is why they use technology or gang stalking, namely, more people at the same time do exactly the same thing, the same incantation, the same curse, the same spell, the same, that's the gang stalking. And God is guiding me to give this explanation, that two individuals from light, if they come together, regardless in which way, you don't have to be together physically in the same room always. But if you speak to each other, if you get in contact with each other, or if you're physically in the presence of the other one, essentially this is exactly what happens. You multiply the force of your energy. And by that, it means that everything that you can do individually happens at a grander scale, including transmuting darkness in your surrounding area. Yeah, if you by yourself you can transmute a certain darkness, when you're with another soulmate or more than one, then you can actually multiply. It's exactly the reverse of gang stalking. You can multiply the force of the transmutation, so you transmute more, you clean more of the all of these issues which I raised now basically are ways in which God and the divine realm sort of say works through you while you work with your gifts. Really, it doesn't matter what gift we're talking about. As long as you work with your gifts, all of these things happen. All of these things are consequence to you working with your gift. And I keep emphasizing this. By doing so, you also take back a certain gift. So you must understand, I said in other videos, the black magic in itself, what they did is they essentially stole. They don't really work with deities. No deity really works with them. But they created fake, artificially created deities through humans which they worship. And thus they infuse a certain energy into that individual's aura and so on. And it applies the same with all fields of sorcery. They don't really do work with spirits. What they do necromancy. This is their sorcery. They work with spirits of dead people whom they entrapped. So you must understand that part of our purpose in 3D is this, exposing divine truth about this and taking back the gifts. What does it mean? It means if my domain pertains of water as a element of nature, they created fake artificial deities of water to work with them, and they expose that part of it. It's bacteria and insects. Basically, this is what they use. And they say they do hydromancy. That's not hydromancy. That's fake. Now, God has shown to me, if you just take back your gifts and your domain, and you take protection over your domain, that exposes what they do. That automatically it's a bondage breaking, it's a beginning of a bondage breaking, yeah, because they cannot invoke, how to say this, divine power and divine justice and so on. So they are being exposed of being fraud. And therefore you take back for yourself, even if you're not going to do this for the rest of your life. This is what I want to emphasize, that there are many gifts that I had and activated and worked with, and God has shown me you don't have to do this for the rest of your life, but you have to do it until you break the bondage and you take that from them. They cannot use that gift anymore, even if they don't really use it, but they say they use it. This is the bondage. Okay, so you have to break that in order to expose them and to bring divine justice on them, so they cannot use that anymore. Okay, so working with your gifts is really important. I don't know who needs to hear it, but God was insistent on this today. Working with your gifts is really important. It's part of your bondage breaking. Each gift will bring different ways of for you to advance in your spiritual fighting, and then I just exposed a few of them right now, so you will understand. But at the end of the day, you take back whatever instrument they have been using to use, sort of to empower themselves. Although it's all fake and it's all lie and deception. As I gave you the example, they use water, but they use infested water. They infest the water, saying that they do hydromancy and they take dominance over that field. And there are many of us, and you learn in your spiritual journey and bondage breaking, there are many of us who came here specifically for this, to expose them, to break the bondage, and to protect our domain. Because these are our domains. And they created black magic, which in essence is not magic, it's just deception and artificially created forces. So there are many of us who came here specifically for this. So throughout your spiritual fighting, try to learn about this and understand what are the gifts for which you came here to protect. For example, I gave the example of Anunnaki, which again is an artificial deity created by them, a human who's being worshipped by others, and by that individual gets a certain energy, which then he uses to cloak himself and to attack others. Now, I'm pretty sure there is a male somewhere out here in 3D who came in 3D specifically for that, to shed light on that and to carry on the fight and so on, and to claim back his domain. So they cannot be able to do this anymore, okay? So this is what I mean. Working with gifts is really important. Some of us, part of our purpose in 3D is doing exactly this. So we can actually take those instruments and expose these individuals. I'm going to stop now because hopefully I still have some memory left on my card, so I can make another video a little bit later. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask me. Please work with your gifts. It is really important. It will help you on your path. It will help you advance. It will help you elevate and upgrade. It will help you receive information. It will help you to defend yourself. And even if you will not make a permanent living out of this all your life, it can be included in your spiritual practice always. Or it can just help you get through a certain period of time so you can move on.